using videos on Pinterest and square cuts of colored construction paper I have a large amount of and need to make use of. I sat down one evening and got to giving origami a shot. I decided to start with something rather simple, like these cute little stars. But oh my gosh, was this difficult? I think my construction paper is slightly thicker than proper origami paper, so it's likely that was the issue and why I had a hard time making any of the things I made tonight. I attempted the stars several times before moving on to something larger, thinking I'd have a better time with larger origami creations. I found the fish one inspiring, but the Pinterest video wasn't great, so I ended up using a much more thorough YouTube video, and that made the process easier for sure. I still found the folds somewhat difficult, and there was a point where I wasn't entirely sure how he got what he got, so rather than folding, I was just manhandling the fish into shape. But the end result looked like a fish, so we're calling it a success. My next attempt was a butterfly, which went a lot smoother and is definitely more beginner friendly. I didn't love the shape, so I cheated and used my scissors to round it out at the top and give it a nicer shape. My third and final large piece was another very beginner friendly one, a heart. I really should have started with this to begin with, but I told myself I didn't want to do anything super simple because it would be boring to watch, but turns out I'd rather actually enjoy doing the activity than feel frustrated doing something out of my skill level. Lesson learned. Every year, I pick out a new journal that will be my diary for that year. For the last 4 years, from 2018 to 2021, I've been using different colored versions of the same Studio brand journal that has these vintage-inspired lined pages, but also this weird section of black pages sandwiched in the middle. I started using them as a place to put a collage of photos from that year, with notes about when the photos were taken and other little notes for myself about things I did that year and places I went and the photos I took. Last season I did the collage for 2020, so you probably remember this from then if you watched that episode already. I always start out by sorting the pictures. I write the dates on the back so they can be easily organized into groups by month, and then put onto the pages in order of the day they were taken. For this year, I decided to set some pictures of Shorty aside as there were so many of them, and planned to make a separate collage after to celebrate her final year on Earth. And then, with all my journaling supplies in reach, I got to work. As I said previously, I do this collage in date order, starting from January all the way to December. I try to include at least one picture per month, but I try to not let it be too many pictures for 1 month, so maybe like 2 to 6 per month is the average. With the Shorty collage pictures included, there was about 185 pictures in total for this year. Once I decided how I want the pictures placed, I stick them down with double-sided tape and write down the date and description or comment for each picture, either directly on the black pages with a white ink pen or on some paper I've cut out and stuck on there. Last year's collage featured a lot of colored paper, stickers, and different colored gel pens and such, so it was very colorful and very maximalist in that regard. But I took a simpler approach this year and stuck with my black and white ink pens for the notes and swapped out the heavy use of stickers for doodles done in white ink. These collages are a great way to use up some of the supplies I have sitting around, much like the art journal from episode 3. I'm not too focused on making everything aesthetically pleasing and having matching colors and such, because these pages are likely to only be viewed by me, given they are hidden within a diary, and are just a fun visual overview of my year, so it's okay that it's messy and disorganized and lacking cohesiveness. I'm not normally someone that's okay with letting loose per se. I really like things looking aesthetically pleasing and organized and cohesive, so this is a great exercise in letting loose and just putting stuff on paper and not worrying about whether the colors match nicely or look good together. These pages are also made on the fly without really any planning whatsoever, so it's great practice in that aspect of creativity as well. Despite the messiness of it, it usually turns out looking somewhat charming, and I don't hate it as much as I think I would, so all's well that ends well. Last season it took me 2 days to complete the collage for 2020, so this time I was determined to do as much as I could in 1 day. I did the main pages with the pictures and dates and comments down and done, and bits of decorating with some frame doodles and some washi tape here and there. Day 2 was the real decorating process, adding washi tape, doodles, stickers, and anything else I wanted, as well as creating Shorty's 2-page spread. I did this on the couch while watching TV with my mom, so I didn't bother filming this process, but I did take a lot of shots of the finished pages once they were done. 2022 was the most painful year of my life and one of the hardest years of my life to date. But 2021 was definitely almost like the pregame for that. The entire year itself was pretty shitty and it definitely wasn't great. It was really just a continuation of the shit show that was 2021, but I ended that year with the most painful loss of my life and my first experience with deep grief that kickstarted a lot of chronic physical pain on top of the mental and emotional pain of such a loss. Going through these photos and finding some good in such an awful year through them was a very therapeutic thing for me, I think. I felt quite sad creating the final collage of Shorty, knowing I'd never be able to take new pictures of her and make another one. The idea that 2021 will be the last year that includes photos of her was a very weird feeling and an upsetting thought, but it was also nice to look back on our last year together through pictures and be reminded of how much of an important, integral part of my life she was for almost 20 years. It was painful, but also somewhat comforting at the same time, as strange as that is. I love the way the collage of her turned out with all the pretty delicate flower stickers and overstuffed pages. I felt like the overall look of it, that very feminine, pretty, delicate look, was very Shorty. Not wanting it to overflow into another page, I had to leave out several photos, but I'm sure I can find a use for those in future projects. My journal for 2022 doesn't have pages like these, so I haven't decided yet if I'll set aside pages at the end for a collage, but if this is the last one I make, I'm happy it was this one. It was a great end to a 4-year collage collection. For week 25, I chose to give shadow hands a try, which is a new addition to this list that was not in the original lineup of 60 activities when I filmed episode 1. Also known as shadow puppets, this is just an activity where you'll hold your hands up in front of a light source and create animals and other shapes with your hands on the wall. I think everyone has probably done this in some form in their life, so I don't really think it needs too much explaining. Okay, perfect. Although I do think I did it occasionally as a kid, it definitely wasn't something I did much or something I ever did enough to get good at. It's never too late to have fun with something, so here we are. The only thing I could remember how to make was this weird bird thing. So I used images I found on Pinterest as a guide for this, doing my best to recreate them. A lot of them were from old guidebooks from what looks like the 30s or 40s and before, so a lot of the example images are hand-drawn. Some of them I swear are impossible to do, like the way the shadow looks in the image is not at all how it looks on the wall because your hands can't always create that same look, or at least mine couldn't. I successfully did a few, like the bunny ones, for example, and a few I tried multiple times, like the elephant, but some were just duds, and I gave up on them pretty quickly. I mentioned my issues with my arm pain in the previous episode, so I won't go too much into that, but I really wasn't expecting even something like this to be difficult on my muscles, but by the end of the 30 minutes I spent doing this, my hands and arms actually hurt quite a lot. Some of the animals were just too hard to do because of the strain on my arms, which was stupid and frustrating for me. It was really fun to take a break from the editing grind and just relax and enjoy doing something silly for a bit. I probably won't remember how to do most of these, nor will I take the time to do this again, but it was fun and enjoyable while I was doing it. Good morning. And yes, I do own other clothes, aside from my classic red shirt, my pink sweatsuit, my Snoopy sweatsuit, and my Mickey Mouse sweater. I think those are the 4 items you commonly see me wear, and I promise I own more, well, you know I own more clothes than that. If you've checked my channel out enough, you know I own more clothes than that. those are just the ones I consistently wear. But yes, I am dressed today for once. I'm not wearing, well, I'm wearing pajama pants, but almost forgot about my tea. It's gonna get cold. I'm definitely gonna forget about my tea, and it's definitely gonna get cold, and I'm predicting it now. I thought that for today's activity we could do an online museum tour because that's on the list, but I recognize that that might be kind of boring for you guys to watch. But when I googled museum tours online, I did find a few that I thought were kind of interesting. There's the Museum of Modern Art, obviously, and the Louvre Museum in Paris. Both offer great online tours, so I was thinking of dinking around with those. But I found out that Google also has an arts and culture page, and they have everything from like different games, like visual crosswords, which I've never heard of before in my life, puzzles, what came first. I guess these are like quiz games. So I was kind of interested in this. I literally would not have known about this. I swear to God, it's like every time I turn around, Google has something, a program or a website thing or whatever, and it's like it's something I didn't even know they had. They've got everything. It's crazy. They're on top of everything. Create your own manga character? Haha, that's funny. With a little help from machine learning. Draw with the magic pen to find inspiration. I mean, that wasn't really what I was supposed to be doing today, but is there like something going on with Japan specifically today? This is actually, I could spend all day exploring this page, to be honest. That is actually so cute. I might have to save this page and come back to this. I used to draw manga, actually. Definitely not like this though. Like, I got pretty decent at it. Let's give her a hairpin. Ta-da! It's not all what I'm supposed to be doing today. The Tokyo Museum of Modern Art. Take a tour of this contemporary art haven. Vivid depictions of Meiji Tokyo through ukiyo-e. Okay. I love the way this website is designed, the way that the pictures come into view. Like the white parts are on top of the art and they slide. I think that's so cool. Holy shit. Riverside Fish Market continued to be the mainstay of the food lifestyle of the people of Tokyo. I like looking at art and I love history, and I feel like I didn't really appreciate it when I was younger. I didn't appreciate museums. It's funny because there's some things as a kid you think you're not gonna like, and then it's not for you, and then you become an adult and you try something and you're like, shit, that actually is totally up my alley, and I didn't think it would be. I love the colors of this one. The greens and the red, complementary colors, and the blues. That's gorgeous. Holy shit. Oh, that's so pretty. Whoa. Can I like move it around? There's something so charming about the flatness of this art style. This is a little weird though. It almost looks like it's been... Was it drawn that way? It must, I mean, obviously, but it almost kind of looks like it's been edited or something, just the way that it's like a clear cut here. It's really weird. It's so pretty though. It's so funny because even though I'm looking at it, like, the way that it used to look, it's a shame that they can't create something that would be like, almost like rebuild it visually so that you can see what it used to look like. Does that make sense? Like it would be like a digital visual experience of what it used to look like, because I have a thing for, you know, like when you know when they show you like before and after pictures of how somewhere used to look and then how it looks now. Man, I love that kind of shit. Like I was just saying that to my cousin the other day when we were talking about Tears of the Kingdom. And I was telling her, even though it's going to be the same Hyrule map, I am so freaking excited to walk that entire map again, even though I've already seen it, just to see what small things they've changed and what's changed about it. Like, I'm probably more excited for the map and exploring it than I am for anything else of the game so far. Like, just to see what they changed about Hyrule was just, but I love stuff like that, like just before and after, seeing how things change over time. And history is a lot of that, obviously, so. Yep, it's cold. Oh, wow. The thing with ukiyo-e style art is that it's the perspective is skewed a lot of the time. Like, proportions and stuff are off. And there's like a flatness to it. And I know that doesn't appeal to some people, but this actually, the perspective on this is actually a lot better. Like, than what I'm used to seeing of this style of art. It's not nearly as like flat and misproportioned, but like the colors and I just find it so fascinating how in different areas of the world, such different styles of art were being done. Like, it's just, and the detail, like the amount of time even an art piece like this would have taken is freaking wild. Like, people think that some of my paintings were done in like an hour, and I'm never offended when people say that per se, because I think people just genuinely don't realize the amount of time it takes to have like skill and to do things, to paint stuff even like this that seems simple in comparison to like realism art. And yeah, I mean, depending on the artist, maybe this wouldn't take as much time to do as something much more detailed and realistic, but it's the point that it still takes a lot of skill and a lot of time and a lot of patience. Like this, like look at all these little people and the horses. I freaking love seeing horses in art. I don't know what it is about them, but when I see them I'm like, ah. And I think those are birds down here. That's lovely. Oh my gosh, I can't get over how gorgeous this is. These, like, it's just so beautiful. I freaking love art, man. But it's funny because when I took art in high school, every year my least favorite part about art was always the art history. But it was like, I liked it, but I just didn't like that I had to memorize facts for the sake of passing an exam so that I could get my credit. Like, being forced to memorize stuff and to do essays and stuff on things was the aspect of learning I didn't like. Oh my gosh, the detail work, oh my lord. Look at the little boats. Like, look, the amount of time and patience, man. Like, I just, wow. And these colors, like, I can't get over how pretty this is. See, when I think of this art style, I think of things like this. That's more what comes to mind. It's gorgeous, though. So many, oh my gosh, and look, like, oh my god, stories from the Kale University Laboratory. All of these are like so interesting. I know that this isn't quite what I said I was gonna do today, because I did say that I was gonna go to like an online museum tour, but honestly I think this was like 10 times more interesting. And it's not like an actual physical museum that's just done in like a VR sort of perspective or a Google Maps perspective where you can walk through it. So like, this is more of what I was thinking of doing today. I would prefer to just go to these places in person, because there's nothing beats going to a museum in person, but that's just not, oh, there's like a map here too, but I'm making do. I wonder why this is blurred though. There's some art pieces, maybe they didn't get permission to show them or something. I don't know who you'd get permission from, because do you think aquariums have tours? I wonder if aquariums do stuff like this too. But yeah, I definitely, one of the things I want to start doing when I feel more comfortable with the pandemic and going out and about again is definitely going to places like museums again. because I feel like it was like just when I realized I loved doing certain things and wanted to go out and do more things, all of a sudden I couldn't anymore because of COVID. But anyways, so that was today's activity. I know it didn't really turn out the way that I envisioned it. I definitely thought it would be more like what I was doing near the end there with the lure, but it would be more like it would be a lot more in depth. I definitely was not planning on the Google Arts and Culture website and going through the Japanese Meiji era art, but it's definitely learning about history and seeing artwork like the way you would in a museum, so it's kind of the same thing. But that's that, and I will see you next week. Or I guess I should have said next episode. With the end of this episode, we are officially past the halfway point of this season. If you enjoyed the series or any of my other art and vlog-based content, feel free to subscribe. I upload the 52-week activity challenge episodes every Sunday and post art and journaling content on Wednesdays, but not every Wednesday because editing this series is kicking my ass and I don't have as much time to edit other types of videos, but they are in the works, I promise. That said, I'll see you next Sunday for episode 7.